focus on.
That's not necessarily a good thing to start with.
They're stating
It
it
wasn't
like
around
this.
when we needed the greatest generation of the 30s or 40s or
happen before the election because there's too many Republicans that are afraid that their wrongdoing is going to.
It's unacceptable, and I'm not going to sit here, stay silent, and not call it out. I'm calling out their lies.
Do they think that we are so stupid that we will not notice and find out?
There it is. Thursday, 7:30. We're going to call it 7:30 p.m. There's no way that Juan screwed this up. We have far too much respect for him. We know he works super hard. He's not on my preview today, so I don't know if he's laughing at any of my jokes. I see you suckers over here on the TikTok. Jump on over to the YouTube. Lots to talk about tonight. Purple Pen Night. If you follow me, you know what Purple Pen Night means. Didn't see you guys on Monday night. We took a little bit of a break. Sorry, not sorry. I do love doing this. I do love being here with you. I love interacting with you all, but sometimes I get a little tired. Sometimes I get a little tired of this crap. I'm not going to lie. As crappy as things are these days, I am getting a little tired of it. And I try to throw my humor in it. If you see me looking over here, I'm looking at the jokers that are watching on TikTok and not coming over to YouTube. I'll give you a sneak peek tonight. I'm going to cut you off. Tonight, I'm going to cut you off. Last time I didn't mean it. I totally mean it tonight. All of this bad news, it's getting to me. I've taken a couple of breaks on my social media, on this show, on my involvement. I just put the phone down. I have to get away from it. What I'm really finding interesting, and I wasn't really going to talk about this tonight, but screw it. Let's do it. I'm really tired of not just the deflection, not my fault, Trump, not my fault, COVID, not my fault, return to normalcy, not my fault, not my fault, not my fault. Okay, not your fault. I believe, boop, I hit the button. I believe, not your fault. What's the plan? Has anybody asked that question? What is the plan? Border is in crisis. Setting records every single month. Don't we have a Department of Homeland Security, Mayorkas, in charge of that? What's the plan? Supply chain crisis. Don't we have the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, with no transportation experience other than riding the Amtrak when he was a kid? Don't we have him in charge of that? What's the plan? What's the plan? We failed to prevent a war, even though the administration told us that sanctions would prevent a war. Then Joe Biden, and we're going to show this here in a little bit, later on said, we never said that was the case. Yes, your administration did say that was the case, but don't we have a Secretary of State, Antony Blinken? What's the plan? Well, Biden can't tell you that because then the Russians will know what the plan is, and we obviously can't do that. Inflation, transitory, sign of a booming economy, not going to last. It's a good thing. Do we have anybody in charge of that? Janet Yellen used to be in charge of the Fed. What's the plan? What is the plan? I'm not even going to talk about a certain illness because I can't say the word. But if you guys follow me on Truth Social, we totally talk about it over there. Follow me on Truth Social at 2cent. I need to get you an icon for that one so you can give me a little cool Chiron at the bottom. And I like saying the word Chiron because it makes me sound cool. Over on Truth Social, we'll talk about a certain ailment. We'll talk about certain doctors over there. Don't we have somebody in charge of that? Dr. Flip Flop. I think you guys know who I'm talking about. Wink. Dr. Flip Flop, who's back in the news, telling us the sky is falling. It's all going to end. It's over. What's the plan? I do want to know. We're digesting all over the place tonight. When the next wave comes, and it will, what will be the reaction to it this time? I'm wondering if it'll even get covered. Are we even going to cover the next wave? I highly doubt it. I do have Queso coming on next because I can see her over there. I don't know if she can see me, but you guys are going to stick around and get to talk to her. She's waving at me right now. KSOC, uncensored, from the Pacific Northwest, deep in enemy territory, has a great show. Stick around afterwards. If you want actual information and a very nice person delivering it to you, stick around for her. Otherwise, you're going to get me. I'm not nice, nor am I a good-looking person. I'm slightly good-looking. I want to know when we do have the next wave, how is it even going to get reacted to? Is it going to get covered? It sure as hell isn't going to. That's not a swear one. It sure as hell is not going to get covered like it's been getting covered. Why? Midterms. The science has changed. The science has changed. Now, the political science has changed. Let's be honest. When the next wave comes, and it inevitably will come, we're not going to be seeing advocates for, well, there'll be some because they can't get off that fear teat. Closing the schools, mandatory mask, mandatory jab, mandatory lockdowns. Flip-flop can say that all he wants, and he's going to. Those that live off of the fear of flip-flop, they're going to keep saying it too. They cannot do it. Oh, by the way, my K is backwards. Let's flip that. I did that the other day because my screen was backwards and I wanted to mess with people, and I ended up messing with myself. Flip-flop can advocate for that as much as he wants. We have the midterms that are coming up. They can't do it again. If they want to lose every single seat that they have at every single level, they should absolutely advocate for masks and mandatory this and mandatory that and lockdowns and shutting down schools. They should absolutely do it. I really want them to. I really want them to. I highly suggest that you write to your Democrat congressman or woman or Congress they, and you tell them when the next wave comes, you want to shut down schools, you want masks, you want mandatory everything. You might pressure the morons into doing something stupid. Maybe we should do that. That'd be a fun little campaign. Maybe we should do that. We should just go ahead and just inundate blue Congress people with, I want masks, I want shots, I want mandates. I think we should do that. That sounds like a really fun idea. Kevin, if you want to know what we're talking about, jump on over to the YouTube. I'm not talking to you over here, just my friends on the YouTube. Want to start putting up the good things from my cool friends that are over there. All right, we did a little bit of digesting to start. Why not? It's my show. I'll talk about what I want to talk about. Let's talk about the biggest one. I'm not going to talk about, I'd love to see you here, Ted. I'm not going to talk about the stupidity of this past weekend. Don't care. I'm not even going to call out what it is. I'm tired of hearing about it. I don't care. Don't care. Let's talk Russia, Ukraine. What's next? Corruption at the highest level. Biden's caught dirty-handed with treasure trove of evidence on Hunter's laptop. We'll talk about the laptop here in a little bit. Russia, Ukraine. What does the end look like? What's the end goal for those involved? Obviously, Ukraine wants their borders back, wants their sovereignty back, and wants to be paid back. Russia, do we know what they want? The United States, the allies of the West, what is it we want? Has anybody seen a clear message delivered by the West, by the Biden administration, of what they want? I haven't seen it. I'm not talking smack about it. I just haven't seen it. They told us, and Biden said that wasn't the case, but they told us that these sanctions were going to prevent the invasion. We couldn't do the sanctions up front because then that would force him into going ahead with his invasion. But then you got the invasion. So then we put the sanctions up. Now we're trying to squeeze him. We're trying to squeeze him and the citizens, which, from what I can see, you have a fair number of them protesting and then being put in jail. So go ahead and tell me again how awful the United States is. I could sit here and say how bad Joe Biden is and Kamala Harris and Blinken and Yellen and all these other morons that have no business in the jobs that they're in. I mean, zero business in the jobs that they're in. At least I'm not going to go to jail over it. I'm going to have to fight and scratch and claw over here about getting in trouble over it. And over here on the YouTube, but I can at least say what I want. I can stand on the corner. I can hold up my sign. I can protest the war. In Russia, they can't. So go ahead and tell me again how awful the United States is. What's the point of these sanctions? Is it going to cause Putin to just go home? Because I got to tell you, it doesn't look like he's winning. Raise your hand if you thought it was going to last this long. I'm not raising my hand. Who here thought it was going to last this long? I thought they were going to run them right over. They have a functioning Air Force. They have tanks and artillery. They have what we thought was the logistics for it. And here we are, 39, 40 days in? They haven't captured the capital. They haven't captured many of these major cities. They're killing the civilians. And let me take a step back. I am absolutely against this war. I am absolutely against the Putin regime. It's horrible what's happening. It's horrible what's happening to the innocent people that are over there. Wars are between the military. Do not strike the civilian targets. You're absolutely disgusting for targeting civilian targets. It's in an effort to try to win this war, which you're not winning. Does anybody think that Russia's actually winning? I don't think they're winning. You're getting a free show over here. I can't stand when you guys do this to me. Come over to YouTube. Follow me over here. Are they winning? I don't think they're winning. So what does the end game look like? How do they get out? Right now, we're putting all these sanctions. We're putting the squeeze on their economy. We're putting the squeeze on them. It's going to hurt their civilians. Is this an effort as Biden accidentally slipped up and didn't say, wink, wink, when he didn't say that regime change in Russia was what he was looking for when he said, by God, this man cannot remain in power? Was that what he was advocating for? Are the sanctions there to try to get an uprising? Well, let's think of how well things went in Iraq after we did regime change. How well did things go in Libya after we did regime change? How well has it gone anywhere? Afghanistan, when we've done regime change. I'm not advocating for this disgusting, he's not a human being, this disgusting dictator who is killing innocents. He's disgusting. I'm not advocating for him. I'm asking, what is the end game that the West, which should be led by the United States of America, but we're leading from behind, as is the way of the Democrats. What is the end goal? What are we trying for? Do they really think Putin's just going to go home? Because he looks really bad right now. He has a massive military, and he has been unable to take over this much smaller nation, which doesn't have the NATO allies. It has help from NATO, but it doesn't have NATO allies. NATO allies, remember, an attack on one is attack on all. As I watch K-Soak take a selfie, you guys are going to stick around afterwards. She's smiling at me. You guys are going to stick around afterwards to watch an actually good show. K-Soak Uncensored from the Pacific Northwest. All right, we talked about good old Papa Joe. He didn't say that he wanted regime change. He doesn't say a lot of things. Jen Psaki, Peppermint Patty does not have to go on TV. John Kirby from the Pentagon doesn't have to go on TV. The entire media, Don Lemon, doesn't have to go on TV and walk all this stuff back. I can't stand when they get pedantic is the word. They just get, oh, you use the wrong term that I wouldn't use, so let me use a synonym for what you said. And it's clearly not what you said. It's what I said. It's not walking it back. We've further clarified. Normally, I can do a little bit more research. Hey, if anybody's a production assistant or wants to help me out, DM me. I would love for somebody to be able to help me out and get me these videos. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to pull up a Fox News clip. Juan, are you ready? It's the second cut that I had that I sent you. We're going to see Ducey attempt to get the president to address something and then wuss out at the end. But he does have a couple of good questions. Go ahead and play it for me, Juan.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I know you're going to ask a really nice question.
Well, it's an important question, I think. Are you worried that other leaders in the world are going to start to doubt that America is back if some of these big things that you say on the world stage keep getting walked back?
What's getting walked back?
It made it sound like, just in the last couple days, it sounded like you told U.S. troops they were going to Ukraine. It sounded like you said it was possible the U.S. would use a chemical weapon, and it sounded like you were calling for regime change in Russia, and we know...
None of the three occurred.
None of the three occurred?
None of the three.
Mr. President?
You interpret the language that way. I was talking to the troops. We're talking about helping train the troops that are the Ukrainian troops that are in Poland. That's what the context. I sat there with those guys for a couple hours. That's what we talked about.
So when you said you're going to see when you're there, you were not intending to
I was referring to meeting with and talking with the Ukrainian troops that were in Poland.
And when you said a chemical weapon use by Russia would trigger a response in kind.
It will trigger a significant response.
What does that mean?
I'm not going to tell you. Why would I tell you? You got to be silly.
The world wants to know.
The world wants to know a lot of things. I'm not telling them what the response would be. Then Russia knows the response.
Mr. President. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to...
Russia would know. I was told, under good authority, it's Purple Pen Night. When the president doesn't say what he's going to do, it's because he doesn't have a plan. No, he's not winning. I thought he would, Cecilia. I thought he would too. I have no idea what's going on over there. Does anybody trust what they're seeing from what's going on over there? Russia's going to end up being stronger. They want to force Europe to pay in rubles. I see what they're trying to do. I don't think that's actually going to possibly happen, but they may be able to take these oil fields that are happening in the east. We're a little delayed on these. Next time, I'll beat up Juan. Make sure he gets these up here a little bit sooner for me. Take these down for me, Juan. We're moving on. So in regards to not saying these things, if you watch the video, Biden, dazed, confused, mumbling, stumbling, fumbling around. And when you get there, you'll see them, women standing in front of tanks and the people. He was talking about Ukraine. In that moment, he was absolutely talking about Ukraine. And then we said, we'll have to respond in kind. In kind means you slap me, I slap you. That's what in kind means. So no, he didn't say that either, right? He didn't say that either. And then what was the third one? Let me remember the third one. I was over here talking on the TikTok. He has to walk regime change. By God, that man cannot remain in power. I guess it's that or Kamala just with the word salad. Everybody's seen that joke by now. Kamala talking is like a high school student trying to meet a word count on their paper, but they haven't actually done the research. And in terms of the terms, when we have terms, and in terms of those terms, we have to have terms that we can terminate. We have the terminology and the term. This is what we have in the wings. Or we get this bumbling moron who goes up there and says stupid things like you're going to see people when you get there in front of tanks. Clearly, you were talking about Poland. Yep, we all believe you. And by God, the man cannot remain in power. Clearly, you weren't talking about regime change. And we're going to respond in kind, which means I'm going to do what you did to me. Clearly, that means that you're not going to respond with the same weapons that he would use. Stop. Just stop. If you're going to lead from behind, just go to Delaware. Just go to Delaware. That's what they do with you. And normally when things kick off, just go to Delaware. Does anybody else think they should go to Delaware? I absolutely think they should go to Delaware. Well, what has come from this invasion other than nobody trusting the media, nobody trusting Joe Biden, Kamala Harris and her word salad, Joe Biden fumbling and stumbling his way through things? What else has come from it? A gas spike, of course, which we all know is Putin's price hike. We focus group tested that one and they liked it because it sounded similar. Putin's price hike, and it makes really good headlines, and I get to say it and I can remember it. Putin's price hike, because clearly the price of fuel, which then affects everything else, hasn't gone up over the last year. None of this has actually happened. It's all Putin's price hike. What has happened? Gas has soared. So what's Biden going to do? For you capitalists out there, you would be screaming, and you would be correct to scream, increase supply. Increase supply. Joe Biden heard you. He feels your pain. I feel your pain. Anybody remember who that was? I feel your pain. He feels your pain, America. He's a man of the people. He's going to increase supply by releasing 1 million barrels of oil every day. I think it's every day. Yeah, it's every day. 1 million. Do you know how many barrels we use every single day in this country? More than 20 million. That is a drop in a barrel. Pun intended. But this is going to increase supply. Oil that has already been drilled at a lower cost than what it's being drilled for now is going to be released into the market to increase supply that then has to be replaced with oil, but we're not allowing for new leases in the Gulf of Mexico. We're not allowing for fracking on federal lands, even though he campaigned on, I will not end fracking, period. But clearly he meant, I will not end fracking, comma, unless it's a place that I can end fracking with a stroke of a pen. That's actually what he meant. They can say there's 9,000 unused leases. Are those oil producing leases? Is this places that have fracking on federal lands that have been shown to produce? Are these rich wells in the Gulf of Mexico that you're allowing exploration of right now? Is any of that happening? We're going to add to the market with already drilled oil that is going to have a short-term effect, and they're going to tout how great he is. But here we go, folks. You may have seen it over here. You may have seen it over here. The president doesn't set gas prices. How many times have you been told that? I've also been told the president doesn't affect gas prices. Beep, bop, boop. CNN told me. Twitter told me. Also the same people, the president's going to lower gas prices. So please, we understand that you are our moral superiors. We know this. We know this. We bow to you. We know that you are our intellectual superiors. We know this. We're Neanderthals, as said to us by the president. We're backwards thinkers. So please, folks, we know you're right. You can't possibly be wrong. How can the president have nothing to do with gas prices and the president has everything to do with gas prices? Please help us. We are very dumb. Please help us. Please help us. We are very dumb. I cannot wrap myself into the pretzel that it would take in order to say both of these. I think of very cool people online with very cool hipster glasses who go on about how stupid I am because I think the president affects the price of gas. And I really, really need them to explain to me how he doesn't affect the price of gas and he affects the price of gas. Can we talk about that? Can you help me out a little bit? I just absolutely can't get there. Well, listen, folks, I'm getting towards the end. We started late. I lied to you. I said that we started at 7:30, but it really wasn't 7:30. So I'm not going to switch it over to Queso quite yet. Juan, are we ready? Are we going to do a little plug for the MyPillow tonight? Are we cool enough to have a plug with my man, Mike Lindell? He's going to be hugging the pillow. You're going to put me up in the corner. Are we ready for that? No, we're not going to do that. Oh, there I am. He's hugging the pillow. MyPillow.com. I need you to use promo code RAM, RAM, Romeo Alpha Mike for you super cool types. I've got a MyPillow. I've got MyPillow sheets. They are fantastic. I love them. You're going to love them. It helps us out a lot. It makes me look super cool that we have a sponsor. I absolutely love it. Get Mike Lindell out of here. Juan, I need you to bring in Queso. I need to pick a bone with her. Get my best friend in here. There she is. I told you all she was coming. I'm on the wrong side. You're going to go this side. Queso Uncensored from the Pacific Northwest. What do you have in store for us tonight?
Oh, goodness. Well, we have an amazing guest who actually was on before. We have Joey Lynn, who's going to talk to us about the latest development with the lawsuit against her and her husband. But,
I
you know,
met her.
Keith,
She is fantastic. She is fantastic. I love her. Tell her that I miss her.
I know. Okay. You're going to enjoy this, though, because for everyone watching, you know, we get a lot of haters, as Keith was just talking about. And what I've been getting recently is people will reach out and they'll be like, hey, what are you, like 50? So the other day, they're trying to make me feel old, whatever, it doesn't work. But the other day, this guy was like, hey, what are you, like 45? And I said, oh, I just turned 49, actually. Crickets. He didn't say anything else. He was wanting me to be offended. And that's how you do it. You just play along and you don't give them what they want.
I had a guy recently say, you yell too much. My response was, maybe not enough.
Right. Clearly, people aren't listening.
Or they're like, you're pretty dumb. And I say, dumber than you think. I know you're trying to get me out of here. I'm sorry. I've missed you. I'm going to stick around and watch your show. Everyone else who's here is going to stick around and watch your show. I think we're going to go this direction. There she is. Queso from the Pacific Northwest. I will love to see all of you back here Monday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Thanks all for being here. Have a good night.
All right. Bye. Hey, you guys. Welcome to Queso Uncensored. Let's go ahead and run that promo. Beautiful work by Drew Michael. I have to give him credit for all of those great graphics. Thank you guys for tuning in for Queso Uncensored tonight. We are live here with Joey Lynn, who we will bring in momentarily. For those who tune in regularly, Joey Lynn was on in December, and we discussed the fact that her and her husband are being sued, and we'll have Joey Lynn go into the details of why, but we have some unfortunate updates. And we want to hear from Joey Lynn directly and get to understand what exactly they are going through and how we can help. Go ahead and come on in. Hey there.
Hey there. Hey, great to see you. Thank you so much for having me back. I wish that I had good news for everybody, but we're keeping the faith anyways.
No, that's fantastic. I have to point out, I feel like we might be matching. Are you wearing navy?
It's actually black, but I did get the tank top memo.
That is so fun. I was like, is she wearing a navy tank top also? But it's great to see you again. I appreciate you coming on, and I wish you had better news for us as well. For those who are not aware of the fact or the details with the lawsuit, can you fill the viewers in?
Yes, so quick update just to bring everybody up to speed. My husband and I are victims of lawfare. We're going head to head with Democrat politicians, White House cabinet members of the Biden-Harris administration, and Biden-Harris campaign staffers in a federal level lawsuit filed against us under the Ku Klux Klan law of 1871, merely for exercising free speech. There are no criminal charges. This is a civil matter. So these traumatized and offended Democrat politicians are suing us for driving next to the Biden-Harris campaign bus with Trump flags in a Trump train, which your viewers may remember from early election 2020. It made viral news. And so it was called the Biden bus escort by mainstream media at that time. The name kind of stuck. Really, we were just trying to exercise free speech, and it has cost us tens of thousands of dollars to defend our First Amendment right to do that, as these Democrat politicians are claiming our intent was to suppress minority voter rights by banding together on a public highway. And they claim we premeditated assault with a plan to run that bus off the road, although that never happened. So those are just outright malicious lies that we have the burden to disprove in federal court. So I'm back with an update on how that's going.
Yeah, no, that is so, it's insane. It's beyond insane. And, you know, we experience attacks on the First Amendment daily. I mean, just the other day, I was shadow banned again by Instagram for putting a picture of Justin Trudeau wearing photo altered dick socks. You know, he always wears crazy socks.
Oh, yeah.
Someone who has amazing Photoshop skills went in and put little penises all over them. And
I saw the
literally got
post.
fact checked, and my account is restricted for 90 days because they said that I was trying to basically say that Justin Trudeau wears penis socks. And I'm like,
Oh
can
my
we
God.
get any stupider? So, but to your level of, you know, your First Amendment rights, I mean, this is just crazy, and this is not a good direction to see cases of this matter handled in. So you had, can you give us a little background on what you're going to face next? You're going to be judged by 12, right?
Yes. So we had filed for dismissal 8 months ago, hoping that this case would be dismissed because the plaintiffs have not even met the basic requirements of filing under this law, which would be to prove we had racial animus, and they can't do that. And so we felt confident that the case would get dismissed and not move through the judiciary system. We're extremely concerned that the judge has ruled that this will go to trial by jury in federal court. So after 8 months of waiting for his answer, spending $50,000 from our 401k, our son's college fund, savings account, and donor funds, trying to sustain, you know, our attorney's fees, waiting for this answer, we learn we're going to court. And it's extremely concerning for all Americans in regards to free speech. If we, as average Americans, a stay-at-home mom, a plumber, a single income homeschool family, can get sued under the Ku Klux Klan law for exercising free speech by government leaders who disagree with us or don't like that we disagree with them, and they can bankrupt us in federal court for this. This sets the precedent across the nation at a federal level. This is terrifying. And so we feel responsible to get even louder and to fight back, but it's going to cost money to do that, to play these games with them. They've got over 20 attorneys. They've got multiple nonprofits funding their lawsuit, graphic designers creating caricatures of us as Ku Klux Klan members, mainstream media with slanderous headlines, you know, and we've got one attorney, and we're pleading with people to help us raise funds so that we can not only defend ourselves, but fight back, because there needs to be accountability here. We want to hold them responsible. We want to make sure that this does not continue happening in our country. We're very concerned about free speech, not just for our family or our child, which is extremely important to us, but for everybody. And so we hope that people can begin to understand it hasn't gotten dismissed. It's going through the court system. It shouldn't, but it is. This could happen to anybody, and we have to fight this together.
That is, amen to that. I think that is so amazing, and you're so brave. I mean, I can't even begin to fathom the stress that you're under every single day, but the fact that you continue to fight and that you're making a point to get out there and tell your story. I have so much admiration for you. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but your own governor, Governor Abbott, he was under the impression this had already been dismissed months ago.
Yeah, you're right. And unfortunately, he made that announcement in a town hall meeting. Somebody asked, "Hey, what are you doing to help these Texans that this is happening to?" And he said, "Oh, that case has been dismissed." And unfortunately, quite the opposite. It did not get dismissed like we hoped, and we're going to trial. And we've been quoted $200,000 worth of legal fees at this level, but we're only 2 appeals away from the Supreme Court, where we could be facing $600,000 or more in legal defense fees to prove we were merely exercising free speech and not doing what they said, which they claim was suppressing minority voter rights by flying a Trump flag. So our only crime is being conservative. There literally are no criminal charges. And the judge that we're assigned to is the same judge that overturned Texas's heartbeat bill when the Department of Justice sued the state of Texas for the heartbeat bill, and he deemed it was unconstitutional, and that has appealed to the Supreme Court. So really, it's not that far-fetched that that's where we're going to end up, and we want to make sure that we're equipped to fight the fight. So we've been working hard to tell our story and fundraise, especially while we can, because the plaintiffs have filed a protective order, which essentially means they're requesting we be gagged from talking about the details of this lawsuit. They want us silenced. Wow. They want to abuse us, bankrupt us, lie about it, and they don't want us to be able to talk about it, fundraise, defend ourselves, or expose their corruption. So the same judge that decided if we were going to get this case dismissed or go to trial is the same judge who will decide if we'll be gagged or not. He's not ruled on that order yet, but we are praying that we will have a voice to continue speaking about this, and we appreciate the prayers and support of that as well as we wait for that decision.
Wow, that is so huge, because does that also mean like any of your crowdfunding or basically all communication that tells your story has to be taken down?
I don't know if what has occurred would have to be taken down. It would severely limit us moving forward. They have referenced interviews of me in the past couple of months saying they don't like that I'm talking about this because they're concerned that conservatives are going to get upset and they're going to experience backlash. The plaintiffs would experience backlash because they have high profile names. And it's just so funny to me because while they're not experiencing any backlash from the conservative community, I genuinely am. We defendants genuinely are. If you Google my name, the number one, the top thing that comes up is Joey Lynn Massaros, Texas's biggest liar. It's a whole smear piece about how I prayed for the vice president to get murdered and I'm trying to end democracy as we know it. And, and how I'm a disingenuine fraud because my voice changes pitches when I speak. And it's funny to me because Juan will say, Joey Lynn, bring it down. You're too high pitched. And so I'm like, trying to like, oh no, they're gonna think I'm a fraud.
That is horrible. I think that most people see that you're a really good, honest, genuine person. That is so disgusting. And I'm so sorry that you're dealing with that because it's one thing to have what you're going through up front, but to have the smear campaign on top of it, that is just oh, wow. Juan found it. That is just so sad. And I'm sorry that you have to read that. That is very disgusting.
Thank you.
Oh, my
goodness. And so they're over here saying, they're afraid of what they're going to have to deal with for stirring all this up.
Oh, right.
Meanwhile, they do not care. And they don't want us to be able to talk about it to protect them. But they don't care that we can't defend ourselves when they had a press release nationwide to let everybody know about this lawsuit 4 weeks before we were even served. So that's how we had to find out about it. The double standard and the hypocrisy here is real. And really the only reason to file a gag order or protective order like that at this level would really be, if there, for example, maybe we were 2 business partners splitting and I didn't want the other person to have my great-grandmother's spaghetti sauce recipe, right? And so there'd be a reason to make sure that they couldn't discuss those details. the general public deserves to know what's going on in this lawsuit, and they want to
Right.
know. And so there should be absolutely no reason to hide these details
Right.
from the public, especially if they
Right.
have nothing to hide, because I don't.
Exactly.
I've
That's exactly what I was going to say. The only reason you would do that is if you have something that you're trying to cover up or trying to bury. So, yeah, that's incredibly unfortunate. How can we help you, people watching? I believe you've created a website dedicated to this recently.
Yes, I have. Thank you so much. So, we have decided that God has called us to defend free speech. This is just the rocky road that we walk to get there. But we hope that we'll get this lawsuit, ended in victory. And we plan to start a fund where we can help other Americans defend their constitutional rights. So, as we defend ourselves and with future plans moving forward, we're referring to ourselves as free speech defenders. So, our website is freespeechdefender.com, freespeechdefender.com, and there is a link there to join our family of defenders, which essentially just sends you straight to our fundraiser. We want to fight this fight together, and it takes funds and prayer to do that. And we have a fundraiser set up through Give, Send, Go, where you can either leave a prayer or leave a donation. So if you visit freespeechdefender.com, you can join our family of defenders and equip us to fight this fight for all Americans.
I love that. Thank you so much for that. And I appreciate you pulling that up, Juan. I want to pivot a bit and ask you, one, Rob, happy 36th birthday. I appreciate you letting me borrow your wife for a half an hour here. I'm sure you guys are going to do something fun tonight or just hang out as a family. But I really wanted to ask you, how old is your son? Or he's like around my daughter's age, who's 11, right?
He is 11. His name is Jude.
Perfect. I thought they looked around the same age. How is he doing with all of this?
Oh my gosh. We have good and bad days. He is very mature and he's very smart. So we're able to have these difficult conversations with him, and he's able to grasp the kind of lawfare that has knocked on our door. But he is still a kid. So sometimes at night when it's time to tuck him in, he's afraid somebody's going to come to the house and hurt us based on the kind of lashback hate mail we've received.
Right.
It's scary. And so we spend a lot of time praying and encouraging him and just talking it out. It's difficult conversations I've never wanted to have. I never wanted to tell him, hey, if you look my name up on the internet, this is what you're going to find that isn't true about your mommy. But you know what? It's brought us closer as a family. I'm teaching him how to pray imprecatory prayers, which are something I recently learned about, which is basically like, look, you pray for your enemies and then then you start praying against your enemies, right? So you pray for them, then you pray against them. And so we're praying against them, and I'm teaching him how to pray those prayers boldly, out loud and with confidence. And when something bad happens, that's where we turn together as a family. And we're focusing on school. I want to make sure that his schedule is not interrupted, because frequently I will allow that to happen. I'm like, oh, I have to talk to the attorney. I have to get back to this person. I have to respond to this email. And it messes his schedule up. So I'm really trying to focus and prioritize on making him the priority, because it's not his fault that this came knocking on our door. So it's a learning adjustment for all of us, but he's in pretty good spirits most of the time. So.
Yeah, well, that's so good to hear, because I know that's got to be incredibly difficult. And even just what we deal with having my children's father, my husband, as a police officer, and everything they were hearing in public school when that was going on heavily. I mean, it's still going on, but it's like I feel so bad for the kids today, because they really have it. They don't have it easy in a lot of respects, and what's happening is so heavy. But I really feel that parents like you and your husband and me and my husband, like being open and honest and letting them know what's going on, why we're standing up for it. Oh my gosh, I feel like, and he can already express this, I'm sure, to you right now, but he's going to be just so proud of you guys that when he gets older, he'll never forget how hard you fought for not only your family, but the country. And I just think it's so awesome. Yeah, of course.
Thank you. You're going to make me cry. That is my hope. And my gosh, it would just be so worth it to arrive at that point where we can look back on it as a victory. I mean, it's exhausting right now. But thank you so much for speaking that word of encouragement over me. And I think you're right. I would say for any parents that are listening, at first my goal was to shield my child from what was happening, not just with our lawsuit, but in the world. And then it got to a point where I just could not. And I want to make sure he knows he can get those answers from me and he can trust me and come to me with confidence. Like, why is my friend saying he's a girl? Or, why does my friend have 2 moms? I want to be able to answer those questions directly and in accordance to our values so that he can then draw conclusions based on a firm foundation. And we can love and accept people without accepting those values as our own. And so I just want to be able to have those conversations directly with him, because if I act like I don't know because I don't want to deal with it, then he might just ask that friend. And then he's going to get that answer that shapes his opinion. And in these times we're living in, man, it's our job and our responsibility to make sure we're raising our kids to push back and to have that firm foundation that doesn't get determined by TikTok or the education system, but by us. So it's a double-edged sword. I don't like having to have those conversations, but that's just where we're at. So I'm going to embrace it.
Well, I'm really proud of you for that. I know the toughest conversation I've had with my kids, well, outside of the police stuff, is the fact that we were in Florida visiting our in-laws, and the kids wanted to go to the NASA, I don't even know exactly, the Space Center. And so we went there, and, we're thinking at this time, it's Florida, you don't have to wear masks. We're in Oregon, we're used to masking up. We don't, but anyways, we're used to it just being required. So we're at NASA, and we buy the tickets, and we notice everyone's masked. And basically they said, it was so humid and hot out too. They're like, you have to wear a mask the whole time. And so we were like, we made a decision. Me and my husband were like, sorry, we're not gonna do this. So we went and got a refund and took a picture in front of the NASA globe. But then, it was interesting because we just explained to our kids, we're like, look, I know you're super disappointed because you've been wanting to do this the whole trip, but our values, we cannot mask you guys up. We're not going to mask up, and we're just not going to give them our money. And they were super cool with it, which I was so proud of them, because my son's 7. So like, he's younger. I didn't think it would go over that well, and we ended up finding a little tiny hole in the wall space museum, and it was better. Like, it was such a cool experience. So anyway.
Oh, I love that.
They'll respect you for it. Like that. I mean, he will, right? It's like, so it's all about like realizing kids are so resilient, and they're going to look back and be like, wow, what a warrior my parents are, So
I love that. I'm so proud of y'all. It would have been so easy to be like, well, we don't want to disappoint the kids. That's hard. But then, like you said, they're so adaptable, and y'all found something even better. And the more that Americans do that, our dollar is our vote, so I'm so proud of you guys for doing that. And I'm just so encouraged that we're not alone. There are other patriots out there who are making those hard decisions too, but for the better of their family.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there are so many. And I have to tell you, I have a cousin, and this is pretty amazing. This is like one of these bold statements, and he's a Texan, but and he's the only one in my entire family that did choose to get vaccinated. That's fine. That's his choice. And then he destroyed his Vax card because he was like, that was my choice. I didn't do it because anyone told me to. And so he basically, I'm like, wow, you're so bold. So that way, if anyone ever asks for it, he's like, that's my way of never giving into that, those type of, demands of us, like the free medical will is taken away. So anyways, it's just talk about being bold, and that's like in a different respect, but it's still like super admirable. So I just really, anytime I see something like that, I just have to call it out as just really respectable. So, just keep doing what you're doing, and we will make sure to put the website in the show notes so that we can make sure to get donations from folks watching because gosh, I know you guys need it. Here we go. This was the day, right?
This was actually, oh man, this was 4th of July I think we got served our paperwork that day. The guy who served his paperwork said, I had to get off the boat to come bring you this, and I'm really sorry. I actually don't want to be serving you the paperwork. But we decided we'd still put the
Wow.
flag on the truck and we'd go anyways on a flag run on 4th of July, even though we had that heartbreaking news and information. We just refused
Right.
to let them win. This is actually the Give, Send, Go site right here that Juan has up on the screen. That is when you're on our website and you click Join Our Family of Defenders, it takes you here. We selected
Perfect.
Give, Send, Go because we did not want to use GoFundMe. This is a Christian
Thank you.
platform. Yes, and they're all about our amendment rights. They are not going to censor people whether they agree or disagree. God bless Give, Send, Go. So, and I just want to say to your viewers, just transparently, a lot of the conversations we've had with our attorney up to this point have been like, look, what can we do to be more aggressive? How can we go on the offense instead of the defense? And the response we get is, you don't really have the money to do that. Like, really, all we can afford right now is just to answer their demands or to do our best to defend you. If you want to do that, you're going to need a lot more money. And that has been a frustrating response because we want to be so much more aggressive. We want to really, really take charge of this and lead the way. We want to be the face of defending free speech and recovering our rights as Americans. And so, we need the money to be able to do that. And we're so grateful for everybody that, even if it's $5, if 100,000 people gave $5, we'd have everything we needed.
Seriously. Exactly.
And we're not taking this answer as an answer, right? Like, okay, our request to dismiss the lawsuit, we got a giant no, we're going to trial. Well, you know what? We're not settling for that either. We are going to request an appeal to the judge's decision, and we're going to try to incorporate the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals above this level of court, because it's a much more conservative circuit, and we believe we'll have more favor there. And so we are just going to continue this fight, and we will take it all the way to the Supreme Court if we have to. So we appreciate y'all equipping us and resourcing us to do that.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I am curious. Someone did ask a question earlier back when we were talking about Governor Abbott. And I believe the question was, is his staff aware, or does anybody associated with him have eyes on this?
I believe the governor himself was aware of the lawsuit. I know I have a friend who had a friend that texted him and said, FYI, this is happening. And he responded, I'm aware. Then a few months later, he said it was dismissed, which was misinformation. I've since left message with his office, and I have left messages with his staff, and I'm just hoping and praying for a call back, but haven't heard back yet. So we are definitely wanting to work together with our governor. We don't want to alienate him or shame him, even though we're frustrated that he doesn't have all the facts, but we are working diligently to try to get him the correct facts so that he can try to make fellow Texans aware of what's going on and really help us and support us.
Yes, no, I think that's great. That's smart. I'm glad you're doing all the things. You're doing all the things you should do to rattle cages and get the word out there, and you're doing it while you can. And let's hope that you can continue and that you don't get this gag order on you, because that would just be such a shame on so many levels. Goodness gracious. I want to pivot to just something else happening in the state of Texas, if you don't mind. Little off topic here, but this came out this week, and I'm like, is this real? I believe you shared it as well on social media, so I'm thinking you're aware of this.
I already know.
Austin? I mean, seriously. So what is it? A school in Austin or a school district in Austin? They had a Pride Week. And did I see that it was like 3/4 of kids came out as LGBTQ plus?
Yeah. So a teacher reported polling her class, and after having a Pride Week celebration, 3/4 of her class identified as LGBTQ plus. So you cannot tell me we are not grooming our kids, and by we I don't mean us, but as a society. And Bryson Gray, the MAGA rapper, he just posted a statistic that showed a poll of generations that have been polled on if they're LGBTQ, and you've got 70-plus-year-olds, virtually nobody's identifying, 50 to 60, hardly any. 30 to 50, like a little bit, and then these millennials and younger, it's just like a skyrocket. I mean, it's all a matter, it's a result of what they're taking in what's trending, including these outrageous TikToks of trans people removing their sexual organs and putting them in jars and showing that on TikTok, saying like, "Hey mom, next time you ask me when I'm having a baby, like never." You know, like it's just
I'm so glad
this
I
is
haven't
what's
been on
trending.
TikTok in a while. Oh God.
Gosh.
Oh, that's so
Horrifying.
horrible. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh. Yeah, it's
Horrifying. This is what's
scary. Oh
popular.
goodness. You know, you
This is
said
what
something earlier that really resonated with me, and it's that we want to be, because I know both of our personalities. It's like we're inclusive, loving
yes.
people, and I feel like we get painted with the hateful brush because we aren't morally aligned to be totally cool with this lifestyle. Like we're
Right.
accepting and kind and loving to folks who do feel this way, but I just feel like you said something earlier, and I'm sorry I'm not getting it spot on, but something along those lines, and that really resonates with me. It's like we don't have to agree
Yeah.
with these morals, but we're still gonna be loving and accepting. But do you remember
Yes.
exactly what you said earlier?
I think it was that we can love and accept other people without accepting their values as our own.
Thank you. Yes, it's
Yeah,
beautiful because it's
right.
so true.
Yeah, we don't have
Okay.
to absorb that, adapt that, or live that way to still love people. And it's just, you know,
Right.
the left's outcry of equality or equity and, you know, just the hypocrisy if they want to be accepted completely as they are or how they choose to be. But then anytime that we have values or we identify as a certain way, whether that's Christian, conservative, you know, whatever, then
Yeah.
we're a problem. You know, it's not
Right.
accepted. You know, I was
Right.
just thinking, you know, Will Smith can slap Chris Rock on public television, receive an
Right.
award immediately after. No security is involved, no charges are pressed. Everybody just goes on life about normal, and we
Yep.
exercise free speech. And now we're getting sued under the Ku Klux Klan law because people are you know, they're traumatized, offended, and overwhelmed by our opinions. Like,
Right.
we are
Right.
out of balance here, and we are teaching people that that's fine. And
Right.
nothing is fine about this. Nothing is fine.
The hypocrisy is real, and it is so loud right now. Man, we are fighting the good fight, but it is a tough one. And just again, so much admiration. I know you're homeschooling, I'm homeschooling, and I saw your post recently, and I know we have to wrap soon, but I saw your post recently where someone said, "Aren't you worried your son's not going to fit in with society?" And you're like, "Yeah, I don't want him to fit in with society at this point."
That's the point.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm with you. I'm like, seriously. Oh goodness. Is
I
Rob
see
available to say hello?
I see Juan holding up the "Where's Robert" sign. Juan always loves to
Yeah.
suck Robert in. Rob conveniently is picking Jude up from lacrosse practice so that I could be
Smart
here on the
man.
show. So he's got birthday errands.
Juan is
Juan looks like
heartbroken.
Juan doesn't look like he doesn't even look like he believes me. I promise I'm not hiding Rob from you, Juan.
He's in the closet with the other conservatives. No, that's so funny. I will say I have 1 minute and I have to say this. I have been asked 2 times in the past few weeks, when did you come out? And they leave it at that. And I'm like, what? And they're talking about being conservative. I'm like, oh my
Oh my
gosh, is
God.
that how we ask these days? I'm like, I've always been out, baby. But yeah, I'm like, that's like the new thing. When did you come out? And they were dead serious. I'm like, oh my
Oh my
gosh,
gosh.
what is happening? So it's literally flipped. Everything's flipped. So
Everything is
yeah,
flipped. That's
I don't
the
need
world we're
I'm
living
like
in, girl.
mic drop. It's flipped. I don't know. It's crazy, but we just got to keep doing what we're doing. Even though we're shadow banned, all of that. We just got to keep fighting the
Yes.
good fight, and we're on the right side of history. And I'm just
Yes.
really proud of you.
Yes.
And let's keep in touch because I want to make sure I continue to get the word out for you and for the crowdfunding. So
Thank you
thank you
so
so much
much.
for coming on.
I love getting to spend time with you. You are one of my favorite friends that I've made
You as
throughout this
well.
crazy journey, and you are just so precious to us. Thank you guys.
Oh, absolutely. You as well. And you have a wonderful night. Enjoy celebrating Rob's birthday.
Thank you. Have a great
All
night. God
right. Take
bless.
care. You as well. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate it. We'll be around next week and we will have really awesome guest. They're all awesome. You know, I say that every week. It's because I just love everyone that I have on here. But we have Rob Ward coming on next week, and his credentials are incredible, and it will make for a very interesting 30-minute conversation. We might run over. We'll see. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget about My Pillow. I know you just saw it with Keith, but we have our code RAM. And you know what? I just bought sheets. With the code, and it took off a good 60% chunk. So I can finally attest to that. I actually did it myself. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you next Thursday.
Well, hello and welcome to the Elsa Kurt Show. I'm your host, Elsa Kurt, and today I have a fantastic guest with tremendous information for you that you're not going to want to miss right after this. All right, guys, as promised, I have a great guest today. His name is Bruce Goodmanson, and he's going to tell us how we're going to save our kids from the Marxist education system. Mark, Bruce, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Elsa. Well, let's begin by destroying the... Oh, go ahead.
No. I was just going to say thank you for joining us today. Go right into it. I want you to tell us everything you can.
I know. I get so anxious on this. I'm just living it day and night. But I want to begin by destroying the myth that college is the only access to the American dream. So first, I'm going to declare that college is of no value to 85% of our nation's workforce. Again, that's 85%. Let that sink in for a moment, because too many of us believe that it's just the opposite. The majority of our workforce has a college degree. Well, this is far, far, far from the truth. Even more, out of 100 students who are accepted into college, 50 of them will drop out. In fact, we now lead the world in college dropouts. And the remaining 50 students who do graduate, 30 of them will end up in jobs they could have gotten straight out of high school. And note this, Elsa. There are roughly 30,000 occupations to choose from. Yet the typical university offers only roughly about 85 majors. That's it, just 85 careers to choose from. Wow. And yet, as we now know, there are thousands upon thousands of fruitful careers for the taking. But here's where it's getting a little dicey. Right now, 36% of our students will not demonstrate any significant improvement in learning or in skills over 4 years of college. Did you get that, Elsa?
That's insane.
Of our college graduates, yes, a third of our college graduates will be no better off or better prepared or better skilled than the day when they stepped on campus as a freshman. What a waste of life and tuition. Even more
just the
over
money
the last...
alone.
Oh, we'll get into that. It just, oh my goodness, it's insane. Matter of fact, let's get into it. Right now, there are 44 million college students have an average debt of around $37,500. 44 million. That's insane.
It is. So, that's a big number.
Well, and worse is that over the last few decades, there has been a 50% decline in the time a student spends in research and study hours. So it's no wonder why an A grade is now the most common grade given in college nowadays. So what I'm trying to do is simply say, look, Mom and Dad, it is a lie that was perpetuated by the high school guidance counselors who basically put living fear of death into the parents' hearts, into their students' hearts, that if they didn't go down the road of college, they will never meet up with the American dream. And that's just not so. Most of our millionaires are from trade schools, or salespeople, or entrepreneurs, or apprentices who got their jobs through an apprenticeships. That's where the wealth is, and that's where the fulfillment is. But also what college is doing is turning our kids into Marxist students who will come out with no skills, a huge debt, hating America, and losing their faith. So I'm trying to say that there is another road, there's another avenue that our kids can take that is massive, that destroys the college system. And if you look, Elsa, when's the first time, not the last time or the second time, when's the first time you've ever seen a group of students at a trade school marching out of class, fighting for gender studies?
Never.
Doesn't happen.
Never.
It doesn't happen because these kids, they're the heart and soul of America. They're the ones who are working hard, who are learning a skill, and so they come out ready to take on the world. So, and this is what my book, 100% Success Without College, is all about. It serves as an encyclopedia of the hidden training opportunities that are offered outside the college arena. So my book covers everything. Well, it covers everything. It goes into trade schools, blue and white collar apprenticeships, cyber boot camps, entrepreneuring, sales, corporate universities, straight into the workforce after high school, community college, the military, and so much more. The point is, how can your young adult fall in love with a career if they don't know that the career exists? So just to give you a taste of the book's breadth, try to answer these questions. They'll show you how little we know. Where do our nation's baseball umpires get their training, Elsa? Do you know?
I couldn't even guess.
Well, maybe you have a son that eats and drinks and dies for baseball, but he's not good enough to play it professionally. But he could serve as a professional baseball umpire. But he can't unless he knows that the opportunity exists. And this is what the book is all about, is helping you know that these opportunities are out there. And what foundation offers $100,000 high school students to skip college? What chef school has the nation's best placement program in the world? And there are 3.5 million jobs with a 92,000 median income, excuse me, that will go unfulfilled due to a lack of trained technicians. And name the apprenticeship school that provides its students a salary of up to $30 an hour to learn one of 19 shipbuilding disciplines. And here's a cute story. You ready for this, Elsa?
I'm ready.
This young man, he was a high school dropout, and he buys at wholesale a bundle of men's winter underwear and long john, and he takes them up to the Pacific Northwest and sells them to lumberjacks, and he earns $1,500. Well, then he takes that $1,500, moves himself to Washington, D.C. area, then borrows another $1,500, buys himself an A&W root beer franchise. Then he buys another. Then he buys another franchise. And for 20 years, he buys these franchises and builds them up. Then he decides to buy a hotel, and then another hotel. And the name of this high school dropout, who was a great salesman and a great owner, is John Marriott of the Marriott Hotels. That's how he began. And this is the point of this book, is to give you stories that just says, you know, Even an underwear cells can build empires.
This is such a revelation, I think, for so many people. And I have to tell you, the minute I started researching you and this book, I started writing a list of all of the people that are getting this as a graduation gift, as a Christmas gift, as every gift you can imagine, because I wish this was around when my kids were, getting ready to think about colleges and all of that. And I'm a big out of the box girl, so this truly speaks to my heart, everything that you're saying. And I see, and I have friends with kids who are in, tremendous debt from college with, degrees that they can't use. They can't even use them. So this, take me a little bit more inside the book. I believe it's actually a step-by-step, correct?
It's basically two sections. First section, Elsa, it's explaining to our nation's parents what's wrong with our nation's education system, from K through 12 in college. It gives you facts. I promise you, if you're a professor or if you're a teacher out there, you're going to have a hard time with this book. But you cannot deny the facts that it presents. For example, the nation's report card just came out and declared that 71% of our nation's high school graduates are not proficient in reading, writing, arithmetic, U.S. history, and science. 71%. In fact, of all the nations of the world, our students rank 26th in educational achievement. 26, which means our teachers are better than 26th in the world. And yet, China students, they were number one in this international exam. Yet their nation pays half of what we do for our kids' schooling. So
wow.
The first half is basically saying, let's look at what's going on, the damage is being done. You talked a little bit about the debt. I've got a number of stories. Here's a good story. This young lady, our elementary teacher, she's earning $50,000 a year. She started paying on her debt, and for 10 years, she didn't miss a single monthly payment, not one. She had paid in that 10 years $40,000. But after 10 years and $40,000, she owes now $17,000 more than when she started, because she's only able to afford to pay the minimum.
It's just
and
devastating.
When these students pay this minimum, they think they're getting along nicely, but the debt continues to grow and grow and grow. And by the way, you lose 7 consumer protection rights, mom and dad, if you co-sign for a student loan. The same way with the students. They also lose 7 consumer protection rights. One of them is bankruptcy. We had a young lady, I was working for a law firm, a bankruptcy law firm, and we had this young lady, she comes into the room dancing and just so full of life. And I sat down with her to find out what her debt was all about. Well, she told me that her debt was $220,000 in student loan. And Elsa, you should have seen her countenance just drop almost the second I explained to her that she cannot ever legally bankrupt on a student loan. And the sad part of this story was, well, there's a couple of them. One is her $220,000 prepared her to become a high school guidance counselor. And the sad part about that is that as a trained high school guidance counselor, she didn't even know that she can't use bankruptcy to wipe clean her debt. She didn't know this. A high school guidance counselor. On top of that, we figured out mathematically that her income was going to be $42,000. She couldn't afford to be a high school guidance counselor. Her monthly student loan payment was going to be cost her $2,400. So she had to find some other job. But what's sad about this story, the biggest sadness, is that universities force these kids to get in such horrible debt for the privilege of serving our young men and women to learn a new career. That's just insane. So I'm trying to tell moms and dads, keep your kids out of college. Now, if they do need to go to college, I do have a chapter. Also, I do have a chapter of the right way to do college and who should be using college. And that little sliver of who should be using it is about 15% of our nation. But even in that little sliver, if you want to be working on open heart surgery, for example, or if you want to be a lawyer, these professions are getting riddled with corruption right now. So they're just dying. There was a debate at Yale University just about a week ago. Well, there was supposed to be a debate in the law school, but 120 of the law school students just rioted almost during the beginning of the debate because there happened to be a conservative speaker on the debate panel. And the moderator, afterwards, about 3 days later, she got on and she said, I think it was Kate Still, and she's a professor at Yale University. And she confided, she says, I have a fear for the law profession nowadays because our students are too woke. They're either afraid to obey the law and will circumvent it because of their wokeness, or they're too afraid to say anything because they're afraid that their job will be taken away from them. And we learned through COVID that a doctor, the government take away your job if you basically say the wrong thing, or they can take away your job if you prescribe the wrong kind of medication. So there is a lot of problems invested in getting those great degrees, even if you're getting into the computer sciences. Our H1B1 visas are now allowing students from India, who are great students, by the way. They are outperforming our students by a long shot because they know what it's like to live a life in poverty. And so they work hard and they fight hard and they get these H-1B visas and they come over to our country and get a computer field. And now companies like Disney can fire their $80,000 plus computer engineers and replace them with these $40,000 engineers. And to them, it's a fortune.
Right.
So even when you're in college and you're getting into these professions, there's a lot to be looking into. But then in the second half of the book, this is the land that I call the world of milk and honey. This is where we get into everything, into the trade schools, into the apprenticeships, entrepreneuring, sales, young adults going straight into the workforce. Excuse me. Told you I had a little bit of a cold.
No worries.
But the question is often asked, can a young adult earn a great income with only a high school degree? And the answer is absolutely. For example, I met a young man working as a BMW service advisor, and I asked him his story. And he said that he was just a high school graduate, and he started off working for the company, a car washer. He washed cars on the lot. He then was moved into the tire department and then to another department. And then he was offered a salary of $68,000 to work as a service advisor. Even more, his associate, who's been working there 2 years longer than he has, a high school graduate, he's earning $80,000. And then I spoke to a GoDaddy manager during a dinner dance event. And I asked him, I said, can a high school grad earn a great living while working for the company? He said, of course. He noted that a number of high school grads working in the sales department were making over $100,000 their first year. I mean, there are countless opportunities like these from any high school grad if, and this is a big if he or she is willing to outwork everyone. I mean, even their boss. But realize too, they also have to have a command of the English language, which they're not really getting a command of right now. And cell phones are killing our children's ability to communicate well.
Yes, abbreviations, everything's abbreviated, everything's shortened. Yeah, our language skills have decreased in our younger generations for sure. There's communication skills, all of the skills really have decreased so tremendously and frighteningly. And I think, it's almost like I feel like parents of elementary school children need this book long before they need it for when their kids go to college. They need it in advance to, just get off of that mindset and that track and get their kids back on the right path. And I definitely see there's a lot of pushback from the conservative side of getting parents back involved in their kids' education and saying, enough of this. This is not your job to teach morality and teach, gender studies to our elementary school age children. There's so many life skills that they're not being taught. And this book is a perfect example of how much is really truly out there for them to do in the world. And you don't have to follow the script of, go to high school, go to college, and, pray and hope that you get a job in the field that you got a degree in. This is going to be life-changing for so many families, I think.
Well, a lot of, or not a lot, but there are some parents that feel that this is way out of their league to basically serve as a guidance counselor to the children. And I'm here to tell you, Elsa, your audience, guidance counseling is so simple. You just need a resource to just basically walk you through it. And this is what my book does. It walks you through it so easily to be able to say to a young man or a young woman, look, here are the opportunities. And to show you how easy it is, think of it this way. We have homeschooling moms who, for the majority, do not have a teaching degree. And yet their children, their students, score in the upper 80th percentile in all the critical subjects on average. 80th percentile. However, on the opposite side of the coin, you've got in the public school teachers who are trained as teachers. They have learned all the disciplines of teaching, and yet their students score in the 60th percentile in all the critical subjects. So here we have these amateur teachers way outperforming the professional teachers. Now, I know if they can do it, that a parent could easily counsel their young adult of all the opportunities that are out there. And this is what it's all about, the book. It reads more like a wicked crime novel, Elsa. It's very fun. It's very hard hitting, but it gets to it, and it has a lot of upbeat stories to just say, look, you can do this because everybody else before you has done it as well. They were just like you, but you don't know that because you think that they're somehow born from some hybrid stock or something that gave them this opportunity to outperform everyone. And that's just not so. Just like I talked about the story of John Marriott. He was a high school dropout, but look at what he did because he worked hard. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was going to say stories like that are so inspiring and so encouraging, I think, to our younger generation and their parents as well. It's such a tremendous gift to have a book like yours out there in the universe for them to see the alternatives and in such an intriguing and engaging way. So I'm excited to read it. Of course, my kids are past that age, but I think there's going to be so much in there of value, and I'm really excited to read it. Now, could you tell everyone where they could find your book and where they can find you if you have any speaking engagements coming up? I would love to share that with everyone.
Sure. My website for the book is anythingbutcollege.com. Anythingbutcollege.com. It's a very informative website. It has a very cute video, and it gives you all the chapter titles and headings, and it gives you a number of quotes from the book as well. So anythingbutcollege.com. And my speaking, I've just got done with Clark, and I'm looking for other speaking events, but I don't have any right now, Elsa.
Okay, no problem. Well, they can get over to your website and they can keep track of everything you've got going on. And Bruce, I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing this incredible book with us. And I would love to have you back on again, because I'd love to talk some more about how we got here, how this all happened in the first place. And I'd love to hear if you have insights on that. So tell me you'll come back on again. I'm putting you on the spot.
Absolutely. If we go into down that road, I'm going to scare the daylights out of you.
I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. So yeah, we're going to make that happen, because there's so much to dive into here. Again, this is Bruce Goodmanson. He is the author of 100% Success Without College. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, guys, this has been the Elsa Kurt Show. Thank you so much for joining us. I can't talk today, guys. Sorry. I look forward to seeing you the next time. Take care.
It is necessary to purge the establishment.
What she's suggesting that churches do, a focus on...
That's not necessarily a good thing to start with.
They're stating it wasn't around when we needed the greatest generation of the 30s or 40s or...
It happened before the election because there's too many Republicans that are afraid that their wrongdoing is going to...
It's unacceptable, and I'm not going to sit here, stay silent, and not call it out. I'm calling out their lies.
Do they think that we are so stupid